There are so many species of animals that rely on resources that are scarce in both space and time. The way that these organisms survive, adapt, and reproduce successfully is especially interesting to ecologists because they can be very sensitive to change due to their resource specialization. Scavengers are a great example, as they rely on the ephemeral resource of carrion. And perhaps one of the most specialized scavengers is the burying beetle. My name is Tracie, and I am an ecologist studying burying beetles and ephemeral resource patches. I do most of my fieldwork where these beetles are common, specifically out along the California coast at the Bodega Marine Reserve. Burying beetles search tirelessly for small carcasses that they then fight over, defend, and protect. Once a carcass has been secured, a pair of beetles will bury it together below ground. Then, they lay eggs and raise their larvae in this underground nursery. Both parents will feed the larvae by regurgitating pieces of the carcass, and after a while, those larvae move into the surrounding soil to pupate and become adult beetles. I often get my ideas for experiments by observing these beetles in the field. It can be helpful to imagine myself as a beetle to understand their perspective. Many things could affect the quality of a carcass and the resulting reproductive success. I set out to test the role of carcass dryness and competition on reproduction. With help from field assistants, I trapped burying beetles, paired them up, and placed them into experimental chambers in the field. Each pair received a small mouse carcass, some fresh and some that had been dried out in a food dehydrator. Some pairs also received competition from a pair of generalist carrion beetles. After experimental chambers were set up, I gave them lots of time to reproduce and feed their offspring. Then, after weeks of waiting patiently, we went out to check what happened. It was so exciting and magical to finally find pupae in the chambers after waiting so long. I was exposing something that is happening all around us, just out of sight, right below the soil. We found that pairs almost never even attempted to reproduce if they were given a dried out carcass. And for those pairs that did reproduce with a fresh carcass, they usually had more healthy offspring when there wasn't any competition. I like to draw these abstracted landscapes to piece together how a beetle might process its surroundings. Bright colors for these fleeting resource hotspots, arrows denoting the work of nutrient cycling, and scribbling to give a sense of the precariousness of the whole situation. The sensitivity these beetles show to shifts in their resources and their environment is eye-opening. We live in a world now under constant change, changing temperatures, changing fog regimes, changing species interactions. There's still so much to figure out. I'm just so glad I have burying beetles to guide me through this process of learning and uncovering.